In this today's tutorial, we will be understanding about global list. Using global list by making a process flow, we will understand how we can push the task sequence into the list and then ask operators to use the task as a to-do list. We will also understand about creating priorities and picking up parts which are highly important. We are going to look into multiple debottlenecking steps by using this process flow, and this is how your model is going to look once you complete this tutorial, because the pull logic is now essentially irrelevant. You get me? Now you're going to click on the acquire resource here, and what we're going to do is we are going to click on resources assigned. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to assign the labels as token.resources already been assigned. Okay, now what does this expression mean is that when the acquire resource activity acquires a resource, it adds a label to the entering token. The label contains a reference to the processor in the 3D model. While you could have a default label name of resource assigned, you can modify that whenever you want. Now for the purpose of this tutorial, we are not changing that to anything. We are going to keep this as the same. Okay, so we are not going to touch it. Or if you want, you can also change these to token.processors. Okay, and this is how we are going to make that available here. Now once this is done, what has to be done is we are going to look at the other area of making that, as we are going to use now the other properties we are going to do. Now what happens is, for all the task sequence, like if you see the unload, right, we just had a processor 3A. Rather than that, we are now going to make it as token.processor, which we already created, right, into the resource. And then for the wait for event, when you look at, in the wait for event, we are going to make it as token.resource on process finish, right? Token.processor event is going to be on process finish, probably. Okay, and then that has to be made in. So what are you going to do? Like this, we are not able to put in on process finish thing, right? But then anything we can do, anything on like one process finish, something like, no. If I just look at this, on process finish is here, right? But here I have to change this to token.processor. Okay, and this is how it is going to look like. And then in the release processor, what we're going to do is we haven't put anything here. Okay, they're just going to wait for this processor to complete its task so that that will be released and then can be acquired newly. So here we have added just one more checkpoint to wait, because process flow does not know whether the processor is freed or not. Okay, it can only be checked care by the triggers, and that's where we applied the event trigger here to check the moment processor is empty, it can be taken care for the new part. Otherwise they will just keep on feeding. That's what the problem can be. So wait for event is what has been acquired here, and then we apply a processor token processor in the release here. And now probably what should happen is the operators should service one processor at a time, and that is going to be that has to be taken care. Now let's see what happens. Okay, I'll just run this and see. Okay, now while the global list system can handle having an additional processor without any problems, but whether you are able to see the loss of advantage of the global list system, for instance, in order that the process flow only creates what I can say and pushes two task sequences to the list at a time. Only two task sequences to the list at a time, right? Because only two processors can be acquired at a time. This reduces the efficiency of the global list because it works better when the operator can choose from many tasks and focus on pull tasks based on ones with that match certain criteria. Now this problem can be prevented if somehow processors could be dynamically assigned to the moment the operator pulls the task sequence from the global list, as opposed to be assigned before the task sequence is pushed to the list. However, there currently isn't any easy method for doing it in Flexsim. Fortunately, you will learn how to implement a fairly simple workaround for this problem in the next step, and that is what we want to look. So we are now going to troubleshoot the processor issue. Okay. Now in this step, you will be adding workaround for the problem that you encountered in the previous step. When you try to add a second processor, you recall the issue is that you can't dynamically assign a processor at the time the operator pulls the task queues from the global list. Now the workaround solution is to put a queue in front of two processors so that it can store items when the operator unloads them, and then you will set up a processors to pull flow items from the queues whenever they are ready for another item. You will also set up a new queue so that the rush order items are pulled first by the processors. Lastly, you will modify the process flow to remove unnecessary activities and change the unloading destinations of the process flow item. To make these changes, what are supposed to be do? We are supposed to add another queue into the system. Now the queue is outside, right? This is not a good way to bring that directly onto the plane. We have a queue now here, right? Now this queue has to be placed between two processors. We can rename that whatever you want. Like I just rename this to destination say 4. And what we're gonna do is we're going to create a port connections to both of the processors. Here one and then here one. Let us see whether the thing is done. I'll make it working. So we see all the things now, right? So here we see the output ports of that, and then we're gonna go and then we're gonna click on the processors. Into that we have an input section here. In that input section for the processor, we're going to use a pull strategy, right? In that pull strategy, what we're gonna do is, okay, what we're gonna do is we're going to check out the pull. Similarly, what we're gonna do is we're gonna to the other processor, we're going to just check that pull strategy, and that is done. When we click onto the destination now, under trigger sections in the queue, what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to add on entry. And on entry, what we are going to do is we are going to add an probably what here in the control section, we'll try to add an expression, and let us see if we could add an expression here saying like what. So we're going to put something by like sort by expression is what we have here. So by descending, an item is going to be rush order. Okay, let's just click it out. So now what you're going to do is on entry we're going to sort it in a descending order, item on rush. So all the priorities will be centered equal.